Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Obvio Q&A. Looks like people are slowly getting in, which is nice. Sarah's doing some cleaning. Look at that. That's multitasking at its best. Well done. Look at that. It's impressive. Everyone's getting in, which is great. Good afternoon, Heather. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Grant?
I'm doing all right. So, has it been some exciting days on the support tickets?
Today has been a little slow, so I also was in
Mm.
class for half the day. So
Well, that's good then, right? It's good on multiple fronts that it was quiet. That means that people are getting on okay and they're not having any big troubles or big questions. But maybe they were holding them for now to ask them with us. So so for people that are joining now, you can put your questions through on the dashboard there. There's a button there to ask a question. And that's just a form. We're not doing anything very special. That's a straight up form in Obvio. Um, and then we're still trialing a little way of managing questions. And so there's a thing that we're doing that sends those questions into another little place that we can see them. And so hopefully we'll be able to provide something like that for you, for everyone to be able to use at some point. So we're still just playing with it. But it looks like we have a few questions that have come through. So let's have a look at those, Heather. What's first?
yes. So the first one is from Erin. She said, "Can we embed chatbots into the dashboard? We like to use them for examples when teaching our courses. Also, how many video or embeds are permitted on the dashboard?"
Great. Yes, you can put chat systems in the dashboard, and not just the dashboard. As in, let me show you where you can do that. So the chat systems normally have some sort of little embed scripting that you need to be able to plug um, into the site. Let me bring up a example. I can use this one. Okay. Okay, so an example here, you can see down here there's a thing in design and then scripts. This is quite new. Some people that have been around for a while may not have seen this. This is a place where when you say to add a script, you can give it a name, and then this is the embed script that you use. And then you can choose where throughout the whole site that attendees are able to view will that script be ran. And so the advantage, we used to have it just that it would only be on the dashboard. But of course, if you've got a system where people are signing up or they're logging in using passwords and things, then on those pages particularly, we wanted to offer the ability to have live chat support, or whatever else script you want to use. But in this particular case, talking about live chat. And so that on that login screen or the sign up screen, you could have it that if people are having trouble right there and then, they can click that button and open up and start having a live text chat support. Now, depending on the system you use, there's lots. We like livechat.com, but there are things like Zendesk, and there was another one called something. It was some combination of live and chat, but it wasn't livechat.com. There was another one that I was using for a while that did all that. And then as far as the chat bot, you were specifically saying, and I guess it depends on how the system you're using for that. But if that was specifically sort of a front end for support, we've also done that with livechat.com and Zendesk. It's another one that we've used where there's been a whole chatbot series where it was asking a few questions and then giving some responses, some canned responses. And then if they're still not happy with that, then they could be diverted to a live agent. So that's all possible all through using this script area. Your other question was around how many video embeds. We actually don't impose a limit on the dashboard, but we do just suggest that you do some testing and you try to manage the loading of your page. The more that you have on it, then the longer it'll take to load. The more that you have on it that's more complex, as in lots of video players, then the more processing that your attendees' computers are doing to be able to view that. So the way that our page loads is it will load everything. So it's not sort of building it as they view it. It's downloading all of it and displaying all of it. And so to that point, then I think you just want to be careful how many you're doing. But there is no limit. You could have as many blog entries and as many therefore as many video embeds as you like. You may want to explore things where you could do video playlists, things like that, where you have a single player that has multiple videos that can be accessed. There's also other ones like we use Wistia quite a lot as a video embed, and that can do an embed that doesn't show the video, but is a button that then links to the video launching in sort of a pop-up on the screen. And so that's another way as well that wouldn't take up as much real estate and wouldn't load. It would only load on click. So there's a bit of food for thought there. Hopefully that helps. Good afternoon, Blue.
Hello.
You stayed muted through all of that, so that's when I feel like I'm doing okay answering.
Well, sometimes it's that, and then sometimes it's just fun to watch you flounder. I'll let you decide which one that was.
and we're on. We're started. Back and forth. There's always a good competition between Blue and I. So the challenge is for you to ask the right type of questions that has some controversy in it that makes us talk on different sides of it. Anyway, next question, Heather.
So this is from Frank. He said, I'd really like to jump on Obvio, but need more info about how the video tech portion works. I guess there's a different room and so on, how to throw the speaker to all the different rooms. I'd like to know about this because I really don't know how to do it. I have some tools as an ATM Mini Pro, DLSR, and so on. But yes, in fact, during the challenge, I couldn't do the tech part, and we are a remote team, so I have to be sure it can be handled smoothly remotely. We also push our Zoom live to all social networks through StreamYard. Second question, can we get both free and VIP member in Obvio when the free part is done? Then those free rooms close and the only VIP room keeps open. Is that possible? Sorry, that was a loaded question.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, so absolutely. So let's tackle this. There's two parts to that. The first part we're talking about is the video tech, which is the production side of it. And absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
You can.
I'm just curious.
How many attendees?
How many people? For Frank? How many attendees are you anticipating? You can put it in the chat if you want, or you can drop it, or you can unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. Cool. So we do a lot of the challenges, and we expect around like 3,000 or 4,000 people with a couple of hundreds of VIP. So it depends what we do in marketing.
Got it. And when you do challenges like that, do you do the majority of people on like Facebook or YouTube, and then only your VIPs in Zoom?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So generally speaking, what you're talking about doing is really managing a single Zoom room. You don't need to think about multiple rooms. If that's all you're doing, right? You're talking about 200-300 people. You can put up to, technically you can put up to 1,000 people in a single Zoom room with Obvio before you even need to think about 2 rooms, unless you're doing breakouts. But if you're doing breakouts, it's probably not, you're probably not doing breakout sessions in a challenge. Generally not anyway.
I do, but it depends, and I can think differently.
Yeah, got it. But so even if you do breakouts usually are max, or are 4 to 5 people, kind of on the low end. Like that's a good number, 4 to 5 people. And you can do 100 breakouts inside of Obvio Zoom rooms, which translates to you being able to have 400 to 500 people inside of a single Zoom room. So for you, what we're talking about doing and how to get you into Zoom, like how to manage that, it's just a single Zoom room. So using Obvio is actually no different than you using Zoom to run the exact same challenge. Okay. So from a simplicity perspective, like just trying to keep things nice and easy for you, remember that it's the same thing. What Obvio introduces for you is a front-end layer for your attendees that gives it a different feel than just a Zoom room. Right? That's what the dashboard is for, the ability to log in, the ability to secure Zoom, right? So that only people who are registered for the event actually get into Zoom, because they have to go through the dashboard in order to get there. That's the big advantage. And especially when you're peaking at 200-300, even if you go to 400-500, like if you almost double the numbers you're talking about, in Zoom, you're still fine with just a single Zoom room. So that's my thought for you, just as a starting point. We can talk about how to deal with multiple rooms, but to keep your life easy and to still provide the experience that you're likely trying to provide for your attendees, you've got Obvio, which provides a great front-end experience for them and allows you to capture some information through the waiver step, et cetera. But then on the back end for you is just Zoom. So if you know how to run one Zoom room, you know how to run Obvio.
Yeah. So and I can then just use my IT minute just to switch the double video I have. Okay, but I think about the numbers. It's big. It's quite about my second question. So at first, because I didn't have Obvio before that, I was using like the free StreamYard version or whatever, just to give people the freemium. But then the engagement, as you know, is really low. For the VIP in Zoom, we have like almost 100% who's coming every single day for 5 days. On the freemium on Facebook, first we have half people who subscribed, opt-in, goes to the Facebook page. Because as you know, with my accents, I'm talking with French people. The mindset is not the same than US, Australia, or UK. And so
wait, you're not from the United States?
Sorry?
You're not from the United States?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm kidding with you, Frank. I'm sorry.
I know. That's fine. And so, actually, I would like to get the free people into a Zoom and the VIP into the Zoom. But when I'm done with the free one, then this Zoom room just close and let the VIP keep going.
So now you're making it more complicated. Definitely. Okay, so let me ask you a question. You said, I heard you say that about 50% of the people who sign up who are free get into Facebook, into the Facebook group, which those numbers make sense to me. And then my guess is, of the people who get into the Facebook group, probably like 10 to 15% of them actually watch it live. The rest watch the recordings.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more. I think we have like 200, 250 live, and then the rest replay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. So now essentially what you're talking about doing is running 2 Zoom meetings at the same time. Yeah. And, this is one of those things where, and Grant can, of course, chime in on this as well, but there's like 5 different ways to do this. And what I usually tend to default to is what's the easiest way to do it based on all of the equipment that you already have, right? So you keep it as inexpensive as possible. And of course, all of these problems are easily solved with money and new gear. But if you already have an ATEM, you have what, an ATEM Mini Pro? Do you have an ATEM Mini Extreme? What do you have?
Yeah, the Mini Pro, yeah.
Okay. And what do you have for audio? What do you do for your audio?
I have the Blue Yeti.
Okay. And that's plugged into your computer, into your Zoom computer?
Yeah, correct. And then 2 DSLR as well to the ATEM Mini. And also I have a third AI camera from not the GoPro one, but I don't remember the brand.
Okay. And that's also piped into your ATEM Mini?
It depends, because I also have the Elgato, the small one like this, to put some more pieces. So even if we are a digital nomad traveling the world, I have some gear here.
Okay. So generally speaking, you're going to want to try and figure out how to run Zoom on 2 different computers. The biggest challenge that I see, just based on the gear you currently have, is your audio, because your audio is plugged into one computer. And generally speaking, I don't think the Yetis have 2 USB outs. So that may be where you have a small problem. But again, nothing that money can't fix. So if I was you, what I would be looking to do is, how do I, first off, video. I would use the ATEM Mini as the transport vehicle to get my audio and my video into a second computer. And the cool thing that you have already is that Elgato Cam Link, which is not all that much different than what I'm holding in front of me, which is a Magewell USB to HDMI adapter, right? Same idea. So what I would do for video is really easy. What you're going to do is you're going to take your USB-C cord from the ATEM Mini, plug it into your first computer, and that's going to carry your video into computer 1. Then your Yeti is going to be plugged into computer 1. That's going to get your audio into computer 1. Computer 2, I would take the HDMI out of the ATEM Mini, plug it into the Cam Link, and plug that into computer number 2. Now you have video going into computer number 2 that is coming from the ATEM Mini. So you have one switcher, your ATEM Mini, going to both computers. Okay, that's video. Now, audio needs to be solved in a slightly different way. And if it were me, I would probably cheat a little bit. And I would just, as a starting point to keep your life easy, depending on what your second computer is, I would be tempted to just allow the audio to come from the onboard microphone in that second laptop. The alternative is to buy a second Yeti, right? And now all of a sudden you look really cool because you have 2 big microphones in front of you, not just one. And plug that second Yeti into the second computer, right? And that way your VIPs are in one room, your non-VIPs are in another room. You have 2 Zoom computers that are running simultaneously, and they're both getting the same audio, or basically the same audio from 2 different sources, but it's essentially the same audio, and you're getting the same video from one source. So that's how, as a starting point, I would probably be thinking of with the gear that you already have. The expense that you have is the purchase of a second Yeti, and you can do it with everything you've got.
I also have the Wireless Go from I don't remember the brand,
from Rode. Yeah.
The Rode. So I already have
a good Australian company,
and that's the second one, the Yeti.
Yeah, and that's the other way. 100% you could do that. right?
Yeah.
You could take the Rode Wireless Go, plug it in. I believe they take you. The receiver has a USB-C connection that
Yeah,
allows
correct.
you to plug it into computer number 2. You put the microphone on you, and now computer 2 is getting the Rode. Computer 1 is getting the Yeti, and now you've got 2 Zoom computers set up.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I mean, it's a little. It's not. Listen, it's not imperfect. It's one way to do it. Remember, I said there were like 5 ways to do it. And with all the gear that you already have, that's how you would do it if I was you.
Okay, cool. Cool, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Okay, cool.
All right. Next question.
And in that way, yeah,
what was
excuse
the
me,
second part?
just one more question about that. In that way, so can I also use the Mini to switch to be able to have also 2 angles on different Zoom, or yeah?
Yep, because you're taking the video on computer 1 from the A10 Mini using USB-C, and on computer 2 you're taking the video from the HDMI out. And on the A10 Mini Pro, bottom right-hand side of the A10 Mini, there are buttons that define what the HDMI displays. So it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I think it says MV or multi-view, and then it has PRG or program. And you're going to want to select. I was really concerned about that stand up, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm just taking my Mini.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I got you. It's all right. I'm glad you're wearing pants, Frank. Okay, so
I'm in Brazil, so it's hot here.
So I believe it's like in those 6 buttons, it's like bottom 2, I think, are multi-view and program. I don't remember exactly what they say, but it's you want to select program.
FTB, yeah.
Say it again.
Cut, auto, and FTB.
No, right above that on the right hand, the small 6 buttons on the far right hand side.
Yeah, multi-view and program, MV.
Yeah, multi-view and program, yeah, PGM, yeah, correct.
Yeah, so program is what you want to have selected, because that defines what video comes out of the HDMI port on that device.
Okay.
So if you have program selected, then the HDMI coming out, going into your computer 2 through the cam link is going to be the exact same video that's coming out of USB-C.
Okay, cool.
So one switcher for both Zooms.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Piece of cake. You got this.
Thank you, Frank. You're definitely the first half-naked Frenchman from Brazil that we've had on these calls. So thank you for that.
Honestly, that we know of.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't wear clothes, only board shorts, and so that's it. So yeah.
I can appreciate that. All right, next question.
This is from Clint. He said, automations are essential to creating simple, repeatable systems that can increase sales and show up rates for our event. How can I submit a CRM for consideration for Obvio to directly integrate with? I have amazing automation that work flawlessly. However, paying for Zaps is costly.
Go high level.
We're working on it.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. That would save me like thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so Go High Level is currently being worked on.
Oh my God.
Now it is a little, we're having to do a couple of things that are a little different than the other integrations, but we have so far anyway, figured them out. The person that's working on it is about to be out for 10 days. So it'll probably, my hope is that it will have it'll probably be done by the end of June. That's kind of my hope.
I use this exclusively with Zap and all that. So if you want somebody to, like, I have entire templates that I've designed of automations. If y'all want to see what I'm doing with it, to be like, hey, I would love to jump on a call and be like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, and listen, from our perspective, we're trying to replicate the functionality that we have with the other integrations, which is you apply a tag to a contact inside of Go High Level, and that tag application is linked to, once it's linked to your event, when the tag is applied, the attendee is imported into Obvio, and the URL is then copied back into a custom field automatically into Go High Level. And then any changes that you make, any additional tags that you add to that contact record, any name changes get synced into Obvio automatically. And then also, when the attendee checks in, they get tagged as having checked in. When the attendee signs the waiver, they get tagged as having signed the waiver. You have the ability to apply a tag in Go High Level when a button is clicked in Obvio, and you have the ability to apply a tag in Go High Level when a form is submitted. That's the functionality that we have across all of the integrations, and we're working on for Go High Level. And it is next up. We just finished Active Campaign. So Active Campaign and HubSpot this year we're already done. Which I know those you don't care about, but we do. And next up is Go High Level. And then after that, it's either going to be ConvertKit, or there's another one. I can't remember what the other one is, but there's two that we're looking at to be our next integration. So we have basically one developer that's working almost exclusively on that. Entreports is on the list, Corey or John. But I believe, I think it's Kartra. That's the other one that we were looking at as well. Anyway, we're thinking about all of those.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. So we have 3 questions. The first one from Aurelian. I will use for the first time Obvio in a small event of 6 people, 4 sessions from the 5th of June to the 30th. Do I have to set up 4 different sessions or just 1?
Yeah, I think the question that you're asking, Aurelian, is do I need to set up 4 different events or just 1? And you only need to set up a single event. You just make your event end date be after the last session. Yep, you're welcome.
Look at that, from Brazil to Spain. We're international today.
So his next question is, my first session will be Monday night. When do you recommend doing the tech check? Sunday would be complicated.
If it's Monday night, I would do the tech check. Is this the event for 6 people? Yeah. So if it were me, how I would do it is I would for only 6 people, I would do it the hour before the event, right? Like we're not, it just comes down, and you only need 1 person to do a tech check at that point. You don't need a lot of people. So 1 person to do tech check for the hour beforehand. And then what I would do if it was my event is once the event started, I would turn off the tech check. I would disable the tech check step so that the person can quite literally, if somebody comes in late, they don't have to go through tech check. They just land on the dashboard and go straight in.
And then
Okay.
his third question is, as general practice, something that would be useful for a newbie like me to train, the sooner the better. Would you recommend to go with a magic link or with a general link with the general or chosen password?
Who asked that question? Was the same person, still Aurelian. I personally think anytime you can use the magic link as the way to get your attendees in, it's always a better experience for your attendees, right? Because anytime the attendee has to log in, they have to remember, first off, what email address they used to register, right? And if they're anything like any of us, like who here, just a quick show of hands, I'm curious, who has more than 1 email address? Just raise your hand if you're listening and yep, okay. So everybody, except Bob, either that or Bob's not listening. So pretty much all of us have more than 1 email address, right? A work email address and a personal email address just as a starting point. And then some of us probably have others as well. So what email address did I use to register for this thing? And that's usually problem number 1. Problem number 2, is while you can create a default password, what's really funny is we've seen people use, like, if you use quotes around the default password to indicate that what's in the quotes is the actual password, you'll get people who actually use the quotes in the password, right? It's so interesting. So with that being said, I think if you have the opportunity to use the magic links, use it. It's a way better experience. Aurelian, what CRM do you use?
I'm just moving to Kajabi.
To what?
Kajabi?
Because I missed that. Kajabi. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Everybody else got it but me, apparently. So we don't have native integration with Kajabi. So you would have to use a what's it called? You would have to use a Zap to get your custom field or your magic links back into Kajabi. But what I'd recommend you do is you reach out to help@obv.io and say, hey, can you turn on the broadcast feature for me, so that you can send emails from Obvio, and then you can include the magic link very, very easily that way. You just have to worry about getting your attendees into Obvio. Once they're in Obvio, you use the broadcaster to send out your emails. And it is working. Like, it is, we still have it closed, right? Meaning it's still in beta. But I'll tell you, we used the broadcaster for TVE this past week. So every email that you got reminding you to come show up for the event came through. Well, almost all of them came through Obvio. We did also use Infusionsoft a little bit, so you may have gotten a little bit on that side as well. But we leaned heavily into the Obvio broadcaster for the virtual event on virtual events.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
I would just add that with 6 people, it would be really quick for you just to go and copy and paste those login links and send the emails off directly, right? So you could totally just, just an individual email that you just send out to each one of those registrations. That could be a very easy way. Now we're always talking about.
My idea was just to train the sooner the better. So
yeah,
it's exactly what I was about to say, and that's what we say is that if it works big, it works small, and use the tool that you want to end up using, not the one that you've just got right now. And so you want to end up being larger. You want to set up all of your systems in place to scale in a big way. Then yes, the broadcast system is the way to do it. So, but there's always just balancing up how many new ways of doing things are you going to do for this one event. Like you can pick and choose the things that you're going to do that are all new and ease your way into it. But great work for doing a smaller event. It's a great example for everyone. There's no reason why you can't use Obvio for an event with 6 people. It's a great way to just really get it all working and test everything and see how it works. So
100%.
Yeah, all the best with that.
Dorita, just a quick clarifying question. She says, but we still only have 1 per event email. No, I think what you're asking is, can we only send 1 email per event, 1 email broadcast per event?
Pre-event. Sorry.
Pre-event. Correct. Yep. Yeah. So that is correct. You can only send 1 email so there's 2 things. It is correct, but it's not right. So number 1, there is under broadcasts, there's a feature called welcome email. So you can set up the welcome email, and that will not count as a pre-event broadcast. And that welcome email gets sent as soon as an attendee is imported into Obvio. Okay, so they can all get that welcome email. For those of you who are using the marketplace, the purchase confirmation is the same thing, right? So the welcome email is for attendees who come into the platform not through marketplace. And the purchase confirmation email is the exact same functionality for people who come in to the platform through a marketplace registration. So that's number one. Then you can, in addition to that one email, you can send one email broadcast in the 7 days before your event. Now, with that being said, most of us, actually, you pretty much have to, if you're doing a tech check, set your event to start the day before the event actually starts. And that then translates to, from Obvio's perspective, your event is on that tech check day, and you can send 3 emails that day. So yes-ish. One email pre-event, kind of. All right, Heather. Yeah. Back to you.
So Dorita, her question's up next. Is there an updated list of how to get started? I have one that lists the creative and collateral needed and the sizes of items. Helps to get the information organized to create a page.
There isn't I think what you're asking is like, is there like a jumpstart guide? Like, what's the fastest way to get a dashboard open? No, we don't have something like that. We did just recently re-record a new series of onboarding videos, but those are 8 calls that are 2 hours each. And I'm thinking you're looking for something that's shorter than 16 hours.
I created a checklist of things just more from once I secure a client to do a dashboard, then I'm like, okay, here are all the things you're going to need to get to me. It's similar to what you guys would ask us for if you build our first dashboard, so it's sort of like,
Heather, do we have that link do you happen to know the link, or Grant, do you know the link? And I'm not expecting the answer to this question to be yes, by the way, because I have a sneaking suspicion that this link used to live with somebody else who no longer works with us, and I have to find it. But the link that we send out to people, that is the questionnaire when we are building a dashboard for them. Do either of you know what that is? No.
I know of it, but I don't know where it is.
Okay. Dorita, will you do me a favor? Just email leap at poweredbysage.com and ask us for the questionnaire for a new Obvio dashboard build. We'll track it down and I'll send it to you. And I think that's what you're looking for, because it's what we ask for when somebody asks us to build a dashboard.
yeah, and I have one. It's just, this was all the way back to like April 12th of 2022 or something. And so
I mean, the needs haven't changed all that much since then.
Okay.
Yeah, the needs haven't, but I would say that the specifics on the dimensions of images and things has got less specific. Meaning it's more about, what I mean by that is because we have more themes now, more templates. The actual dimensions don't matter as much. The ratios matter more. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually the shape of images that makes more of a difference. And so things like backgrounds, like we just say, I don't know, do a background that's like about 2000 pixels square is a good place to start. But you can do less than that, and you can do more than that, and it might work totally fine, because all of the dashboards that we have, all of those template designs are responsive, meaning that they respond to the different sizes of the screens that they're on. And so as the window changes, you'll see that what is shown of those images will change. And so we have really designed it in such a way that is layered, and you know this, Dorita, but the background, having separate images for background and logo, for example, a background will always change around. You'll see different parts of it depending on the size of the screen. The logo will always be shown, right? And so, but playing around with how that logo sits, often it being a little wider works better on our templates. And so that's just an example, right, of where we're not specific about it needs to be this size for it to work best. That's not the case, because as we grow, we're finding more and more actually on this design, this works really well with this. And then you have the same template, but a completely different design. And you'll say, oh, actually this shape works better. And so there is the basics of saying you need a background, you need a logo, maybe you need a hero image, maybe you want some banners, maybe you want some, that sort of thing. There definitely is that. And there is value in having a checklist for that. But yeah, just getting into the specifics of pixel sizes is certainly not the case. And back then as well, we didn't have the cropping tool that we have built in now as well, and so that makes it even easier too sometimes to be able to bring your image in and then say, I can crop this out, and you can do all that all within the dashboard editor. So just a little
Can I
bit
show you
extra of
something
where
real
we've
quick?
come from. Of course.
Okay. So, okay, I think this is it. No, that's not it. Sorry.
Do we need to sign a legal document before we can see it?
I'll attach it to the thing and send it. But yeah, so some of these may not make sense anymore, right? Because I just did a list. So is it helpful to see what I'm saying, or is it just helpful to just use generic stuff? Because I went in and created those a while back.
So we're seeing the terms of use at the moment. Is that?
Oh no, hold on one second.
Okay.
It should be an Adobe file. Are you seeing Adobe?
Okay. Yes. Yep. Got it now.
Yeah. So a while back I created this, and so it's, like this is 2000, or it shouldn't be more like this, or header image, approximations. But if it's wider than, because usually most people have their own designers and they're creating it, and instead of going back and forth with people on different things, it's easier to say, here are all the things, so you know what you're getting into. Would it be easier if I send that email and attach it, or just don't worry about it, go in and just reconfigure what we're saying based on what you just said? Because that makes a lot of sense.
I think what you've got there is great. And I guess I think about what could happen by specifying those specific pixel dimensions, is that depending on the brand logos and things like that, it may not fit within that. So they would create their canvas that way, then they'll bring in their logos and things and try to make it work within that canvas. And then you bring it into Obvio and see that actually, if that wasn't quite like that, it would have worked much better. And so that's where it's just a little bit tricky to say a dimension size exactly, because it depends on, you get a logo that's more of a square, great. You get a logo that's really wide, then it's a little different. You get a logo that's really tall, then the tall example is a good one, because in the dimensions you've got currently, it's a wide logo. And so then the designer is going to be trying to fit their tall logo into a wide canvas. You're then going to bring it into the dashboard, and it's going to be super small, right? And you might end up cropping it. You crop it, and now your actual resolution is low, right? Now you got a small thing. So, so it is a difficult thing to do a generic instructions when logos and collateral varies so dramatically. So I wonder if you would say, sometimes we ask for working files, right? Like, yes, create these things and give us your Illustrator or Photoshop files, so that then we can manipulate it a little bit in Vector, and we can make it the way that we want it to work, rather than locking it down.
And with all that being said, Dorita, I work with clients just like you, and so does Grant, actually. And it does not ever happen that we ask for images where a graphic designer doesn't say, can you give me the specific resolution you need? And it's almost like graphic designers don't understand web design. I don't really understand how that's the case, but they just don't get it. So I appreciate the fact that needing to give them specific pixels is important, not because it's important, but because they need it. So, you know, I think what you've done is probably a solid starting point. The only thing that I would say is, you know, double check and take a look at the different template, like make sure that based on the template they pick, you modify that, right? Because for Lefty, as an example, you wouldn't want a header image that's that narrow. You'll want one that's more thick. So you may need to adjust what you ask them for based on the template that they choose. So that's the only kind of caveat that I would give you. And with that being said, the reality is most clients that I work with anyway, when they, you know, for our Sage clients, when they give me a dashboard, like a dashboard assets folder, I mean, even when a designer asks for specific dimensions, they then never actually provide you with the graphics in that freaking dimension. I'm like, really? Like, you asked for it. Like, you made a big deal out of I need a specific pixels, whatever. I'm like, fine, here it is. And then they give you whatever the heck they want. So I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. I've had that same thing, and I end up just going double the pixels that I really want. Then I've got plenty to play with, and it works better. But having working files is great too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So Sarah had a question. She's preparing for her first free challenge. Is there a way for someone to join an Obvio call without manually inputting them as an attendee? So far, I've just been using Obvio for one-on-one fulfillment, and I'm able to put their email address ahead of time. What can I do for a larger event of 100, 200 people so that they can join on demand? Or is that just a bad idea?
I wouldn't say that it's a bad idea. So I'll just tell you how to do it. You did say it was a free challenge, Heather?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this right here is the dashboard that we have for this event, right? So it's update.obv.io. And you'll notice that on this page, there's this link right here. Don't already have an update account? Click here to register. They click here. They fill in the first name, last name, and email address, and click sign up. When they do, they land directly on the dashboard. Or if you have any of the check-in features turned on, they land on the correct check-in feature, right? So if you have a password step enabled, that's where they'll go first. If you have the waiver step enabled, then that. And if you have tech check step enabled, then that. So what you can do is have something like that. We also had the same thing for offercamp.obv.io. And you'll notice not registered, click here to register for free. Click. Same thing, sign me up for OfferCamp. So that is a simple free sign up tool that is baked into Obvio. It's off by default, but it's easy to turn on. So under design, if you go to login, first off, you're going to see by default, I believe there's text there that says sign up. And if you click on the gear, you can modify what that text says. That's really the only thing you can modify on the login page. Then from there, right below login, there's the sign up tab. And if you click on that, it's going to be disabled by default. You're going to want to enable it. And then you're going to want to make some modifications, right? So you could modify the text so that, it says, join us for the free challenge by entering your first name, last name, and email address below and clicking on the sign up button, or whatever you want that text to say. Then you can go into the sign up button itself and change the text for the sign up button. The styling for the sign up button is shared styling from the login page. So if you make a change on the login page styling button, right? So if you change your color to red, as an example, and click save. Did I not click save? I feel like I didn't click save. Oh no, that was the hover button. anyway, whatever. So now when I hover, it's red, right? I mean, gosh, that's not actually a good example. Let's go red. There we go. So if I change my button itself to red and I go to sign up, the sign up button is going to be red. And then if I change my sign up button to be blue again, right? Then when I go back to sign up or to log in, the login up button is blue. They share styles, in other words. So once you do that and you have this enabled, there's one last thing that you can do, which is new attendee rules, which is simply to say that you can apply a tag on sign up, or you can add a group. So type is last minute or something along those lines. And now anybody who signs up using the sign up form, when they land in the attendee list, they'll get either that tag or that group. And it can be one or the other or both. And that's optional. You don't have to do that. But it is nice to have that information at your disposal so that, after the event, you can look up, like if you just say manual as an example. So now after the event, you can go into the attendees list and filter it by tags includes manual, and you'll see all the people who signed up through the sign up page. So that's an easy way to knock that out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, so Robin wants to know if you can take a look at her event and see if there's anything that I linked that won't work.
Sure. Do you have a link for the event?
Her organization is Robin L. Kafesh. Her event is private scholarships and other money resources for college.
Her organization is, you said Robin?
Robbin.
Yeah. Oh, learn to spell. Okay.
While Blue's getting that, Frank, you're just asking about translation or being able to change buttons. So yes, absolutely. Any of those, any of the buttons that are across the site can have the text changed. If you were only doing it in one language, and you were only offering it in one language, then you could just change all of those buttons and the headers and things like that all to that single language. And simply you can see throughout the site there are options to change the names of what's on the button text, and almost everywhere can you change it. There's just a couple of small things that can't be. Then there's a whole translation option as well, and that's there's a video that we'll be able to send you about how to do translation if you wanted to have multiple language support. And that's where, just the quick overview is that's where we put in little keywords into across the site, and then we replace that and we choose all the different languages that we want to do only in French. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, you can just go through and change everywhere to French and you'll be fine. Great. All the best for that.
Okay, so I have the event. Is there something specific that Robin wants us to look at?
Robin,
She
you
just
can
wants
unmute yourself if you'd like.
wants a master to look over it.
I'm not done, obviously, but I'm kind of just struggling through it. There's the things that I did add in there, like I just wanted to make sure it worked, because when I click on when I put it in preview mode and I click the post event survey or the speakers, it just opens up the dialog box on the right hand side. It doesn't Like it doesn't go back to the speaker page, which
Right,
I
yep.
entered something, but I didn't finish it.
No, Robin, you're not wrong. Okay, so in order to truly test a dashboard, you really need to log into it as an attendee. So you've got this test user set up, and
Okay.
I would click on that and then just click this little, person icon,
Okay.
and that'll pop open a new tab and log you in as that participant. So I'm making your password, I think, or passworded it. There we go. And I'll go ahead and sign that. Okay. So now from here, speakers page takes you to the speakers page, right? So you're right. Inside of the editor, clicking on things sometimes does weird stuff.
Okay.
Okay. But if you log in as an attendee, then you can play around with it. I would say to you that this welcome to your dashboard button probably doesn't need to be there as a button. You may want to have it be in this, where you have this thing right here.
Okay.
Join the main stage. Looks like it's linked correctly. If I click here, I see that it's linked to an area called main stage. And then if I go to areas, I have main stage with one room. So that looks right. Tech check technically is, I wouldn't do tech check like this. I would probably do tech check using our tech check functionality.
Okay.
And how you would do that is you would go into Zoom areas, you'd create a new area called tech check. And this is optional. You don't have to do this. But if you are going to do tech check, this would be what I would call best practices, is to link it to a different area other than your main stage. Then you'd enable it there.
Okay.
And then I would remove that particular button.
Okay.
In terms of welcome to the dashboard, so there's a couple of things here that I would probably do a little differently. Let's see how far
I don't think it looks very good, but this is the first. I'm just trying to muddle through, and my event's actually on Tuesday. So
yeah. So I would probably find a piece of stock image, something that is a little bit more like this.
okay.
It is just an idea based on what you have in that header, because that header to me, I probably wouldn't leave it like that.
Tiny picture, and I didn't know how to make it.
No, I totally get it. So I'm just kind of looking for something. So I'm going to use this as a sample, right?
Okay.
And you should probably actually license a piece, like a piece of clip art or something along those lines. Is probably the direction that I would go if I was you. But this is what I kind of have in my head when I saw what you just showed. Something like this.
I so tried to get a picture like that behind there, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Okay.
Yeah, so something like this, where the cash, like, it just looks like it's just falling out of the sky, right?
Right. No. Perfect.
And then I would probably remove that logo, and I would take this, private scholarships and resources for other money at college, and I would turn that into an image file of some sort, right? Like, just because you want something up here, I would make that the logo.
Okay.
So I would pull that into Canva or something along those lines, and just choose the text that works for you, and then export it as a wide image. So
a wide image, you said?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Continue with email. Ooh, that's not. Give me one sec.
I love watching Blue do this because he can't help himself. Like
I
he
really
gets sucked
can't.
right in.
I
He
Like,
gets
Mick,
sucked
do you
right
know how
into
long it would have taken me just to do what you just did now?
it's really good. I think it's really helpful for lots of people, and so that's why I always think it's a great thing when people have a dashboard that they've done work on. Like we're not necessarily like just going to build the dashboard for you, but if you've done a bunch of work, which you clearly have, then it's great. You get Blue's eye over it and can just see a couple of these things, and everyone learns something whenever he does this. So it's great.
Blue, you are the best at this. You're very good at this. Just want to let you know. Not that you need that stroking, but like you really are really good at this.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I think that is just a function of having done a lot of them, right? So I'm actually not all that. I actually don't think I'm all that good, but I appreciate you guys saying that. I think it's just a function of doing a lot of these. Okay, so add countdown.
But it's also that Blue has designed this whole system, right? And so it makes sense that when we're like, how would we make this display like this? It's like, yeah, we've thought about that. We want it to kind of work like this. And this is a good example of where often events have some sort of logo or branding, and so that would sit up in the top. And if you don't have branding for your event, then this is a great little insight into how to create it, and it really lifts the default sort of nature of your event, turns into oh wow, this is like, it's an actual thing, it's a real thing, and you'll see this. It just looks different.
Huge difference. I mean, just with the money in the background makes it look so much better. Yeah, so much better.
So I would do something like that. And then if you still want to have it say like, welcome to the dashboard, welcome.
I thought it was important to say it was the dashboard because so many people are like, I don't know what's the dashboard. So
No, totally.
like,
yeah, no, I totally get it.
Do you just show putting the first name in there as well, Blue?
Yeah, sure.
It's just a nice thing to do, so you can see here. That's how you add that. That's going to look good.
Actually,
Personalizes it.
I think it's like that, isn't it? Oh, yeah, that'll work. I think that works. Okay, so join the main stage. I would probably make this one. I would make join the main stage a full width.
okay.
And one of the things that I like to do with the classic template, which is the one you're doing, is the default or the longest width of a of the buttons is 12. And that gives you a button that is the full width of the content area down below, right, of the blog posts, from far left to far right of the sidebar.
Okay.
But one of the things I like to do with Classic is to actually make the buttons slightly less wide. So I use a max width of 10, and then have the other buttons that are going to be right underneath them have a width of 5, right? So I make main stage my top button, so it's a little bit more prominent. And I like the colors you've chosen, by the way. That's a nice color palette. Although I would probably go more in like this direction and not have that color be transparent. That's the only change that I would make there.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So post event survey, what's this going to? That's going to a Survey Monkey. Cool. All right. So I'm going to make the width of this also 5, and then make, well, tech check technically
Can get rid of that.
Yeah, that one.
Right.
Yep, exactly. And then the post-event survey, I would just disable until it's ready to go. And then when you when you enable the post-event survey, I would disable VIP, because once you get to post-event survey, you probably don't need VIP.
Right.
And when you do that, what'll wind up happening is the post-event survey will wind up on the same line automatically as speaker page, right? Instead of speaker page, I would probably say something like meet your speakers, right? Just something like that. And then the other thing that I try to do is I try to keep my text the same. So you're using a 22-point font up above. And I'm going to do the same thing for this post-event survey. And the other thing that I noticed was I think you have a preset height. So you've made your height 79 here. So I'm going to do the same thing for this post-event survey button so that it winds up being the same. So, I mean, I think something like this is a little bit more in line with what you're probably aiming for.
Okay. Yep.
And you may not like that font that I chose, but you kind of saw what I did, right? I brought in a Canva. I made a wide image, and then I just dropped some text on it. I made the text white, and then when I saved it, or when I clicked download, I selected transparent background so that the white disappears, and all you get is a transparent PNG file, which is an image file that allows you to essentially upload it or put it over top of a different color background.
Okay.
Okay. And then what I did is I increased the header height a little bit so that I could make the logo a little bit bigger, right? Or the logo height a little bit bigger, because I wanted that a little bit larger. And then I reduced the header opacity slightly so that it's a little transparent, so you can still see the cache up there. And then to do the falling cache in the background, I found a nice large, wide, like 16:9 kind of format image, and uploaded that as the dashboard background, not the header, the dashboard background.
Okay.
And then under styling, there's a dashboard background color, which defaults to 0 opacity, but that doesn't look good, right? You see how it's too bright. It's too busy for my eyes anyway. So I left the dashboard background color white, but I just added some opacity to it. So, and I just added it until I thought it looked good, which I thought hit at about 60. So now the falling bills of cash are still there, but they're a little less pronounced, right? It's just they just kind of fall into the background a little bit. So, I think that's probably a decent starting point. When you click meet your speakers from the actual dashboard, of course, good job, Blue. Really messed that one up. So, so when you hit your actual dashboard, the logo shows up at the top, which is it's just a text-based logo. It says test, welcome to your dashboard. Test, in this case, test user, right? If I were to rename this to Blue Melnick, click save and refresh, the name will change to Blue Melnick because of how I put that merge code into the design of the squiggly bracket first space name, squiggly bracket. Because of that, it'll just merge my contact info, my first name, directly into that.
And so you put the comma after the word name, correct?
I did, yeah, right. Because I feel like Blue, welcome to your dashboard. is different than blue. Welcome to your dashboard.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to write it down so I
Oh.
can duplicate this in the future.
Yeah, and listen,
Or
I don't know. It could be welcome to your dashboard, blue. You could
Blue,
do it that
yeah.
way, right? It could.
Yeah.
We could do it this way as well. This would be perfectly fine.
Yeah. There we go.
So it doesn't matter really where you put it. It's just a little bit of personalization, which is nice.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. So I think I put in a password in the beginning when I was setting it up, and you were talking earlier, maybe don't
You
do
did
that.
scholarship. Yep.
So I was thinking just to send that when I sent the welcome email out, that would be in there, that they would
Yep.
use that as the password. But
So if
I
that's
should
the
get
case,
rid of
I would
it?
actually turn off the ability, like this password step. Personally, I would turn it off. Can you tell me what a tiny bit about the event?
It's a free 3-day event. It's for finding private scholarships and other resources to pay for school.
Okay.
So that will lead hopefully to my high ticket offer that will be like 8-month-long program, and it's for college students. The audience obviously will be parents. In my course, I go through teaching them the basics about money, setting up a blueprint for their college experience and their program, teach them about connecting with future employers, internships, how to interview, all those things that center around their money in some way, and just being ahead of everyone else once they graduate.
Cool. And is this the first time you're doing that? So this is a free event, you said?
This is a free event. And then I put in there, hopefully I did it correctly in the marketplace, if they want a VIP for $97, and that would get the recording. And I'm wondering, like, how do I give them the recording from this? Do I have to do anything special when I set it up? I didn't see anything in here about recording, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so Obvio isn't a content delivery system, so it's not necessarily going to do this. So when is this event? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And how many people are you aiming for?
I have 28 people who are waiting for their registration link, which I think I set everything up correctly. And I was hoping to send that out this evening, because my understanding, it doesn't have anything to do with the rest of my event in Obvio, that I can finish working on it. I had put it on a site, and like within 20 minutes, there were about 200 people wanting to register, and it was taken down because I wasn't supposed to put it on there. So I didn't advertise it anywhere else. I mean, if there's just one person in the room, I'm totally okay with that, because I just want to run through it. But so I'm not sure if there'll be just 28 people or if there'll be a lot more.
Yeah, no, I get it. That makes sense.
Everyone's freaking out now about their kids going to college that have just graduated. So it seems to be like a big frenzy. And I wasn't going to release it until next month, but I thought might as well try to, tap into the
chaos. For sure. So I think this is, I just made a minor change. I put the registration form directly next to the ticket option.
Okay.
Because I think visually that works a little bit better on desktop anyway. On mobile, it doesn't matter. It goes vertically anyway. So, but on desktop, I think that'll look a little bit different, a little bit better. You're definitely going to want to say describe the event.
Yeah.
Under tickets, let's see, VIP. All right, I'm going to apply a tag that is just VIP.
I did, but it kept removing it.
Yeah, it's because you didn't press enter. So there's something fun inside of all of the tags fields. So if you just type in, let's say, my VIP, right? Like that, and click save, it will not save it because you're not actually applying the tag. You have to actually press enter.
Okay.
In order for the tag to show up as a bubble, which is when they are actually tags.
Okay.
Okay. So I've added the VIP tag to your VIP ticket. And I'm going to go in and do the same thing, just GA, and press enter to applied tags for general admission. The reason I'm going to do that is because if you are going to provide the recordings to your VIPs, you may want to do that just in a blog post, the same way that we've embedded a video here.
Okay.
And you're going to need to have some differentiation between your VIPs and your non-VIPs, right?
Okay.
So, when it comes time to do this, you could potentially go into visibility rules for blog posts and add a rule where tags include VIP. So now, and click save. And now only the people who have the VIP tag will see that blog post.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where tags and data about your attendees becomes important, especially if that's something that you're doing, especially if you're differentiating content delivery between people.
So in that area on the next line where it said about the tag and the tag value, is that where you put in something that goes after our name, like when we're seeing now here in the Zoom?
No. So that is inside of labels. So what you would do is you would click add attendee label. Under visibility rules, you're going to say tags includes VIP. So that's what needs to be true in order for this label to be applied. And then I'm going to type the text VIP. And now everybody who has the tag VIP will get -VIP added to their name in Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to click add that, and now that's there.
Okay.
All right, so that's in place for you. You can modify that if you want. You can go update that if you wanted to change the word VIP to something else, like if you wanted to add a star emoji or the sun, right?
Okay.
You may want to do that, and now you can.
Okay. And in the offline page, do I need to disable that somehow? Because I couldn't.
You don't need to worry about the offline page. The offline page only shows up if you go to settings and offline your event. The offline page does nothing unless your event is offline, and you have to manually do that.
Okay.
And the offline page is a very, very rudimentary system. Okay, so you can modify what it says, right? Like the event is currently offline, et cetera, et cetera. Or what most of our clients and customers do is they redirect to another URL, right? So they redirect to their website, google.com, right? And include https://. So now if I click save, it's not going to redirect to google.com. It's just, these are my preferences when the event is offline. So if I come here, turn the event offline and click save, now when I go to, scholarships-collegenow.obv.io, then it's going to redirect me to Google because my offline settings have that set. But you have to manually come in and turn the event offline even after the event date passes, right? So even after June 3rd at 10 p.m., the event doesn't go offline. You have to physically, or you have to manually do that.
Okay. And for the sponsor page too, does that not show up unless I put something there? Because I was looking at it and I didn't know how to get rid of it. Unless you want to be a sponsor.
Just disable it right up at the top. If you want something turned off.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So there's this enable disable right up at the top of the sponsor page. The same thing is true on the FAQ page and the Zoom background page, and also the speaker page, actually. So if you wanted to disable that, that's how you would do that. And now, so because I've disabled sponsors, if I click on the menu, the sponsor page isn't there anymore. Leaderboard still is. So I'm going to go into leaderboard for you because I assume you're probably not going to do gamification for this event.
Not now.
Okay. So I'm going to disable the leaderboard for you, which is just under attendees, points, page settings, disable. It's a little buried, but now when we go back to the dashboard and we click on the sidebar menu, it just says dashboard, speaker, and log out, right? So those are the only pages that now appear on that. And that'll also be true on the actual page when an attendee logs in. Last thing I would say to you, just to keep your life easy, just turn off tech check. Don't do that. Just keep your life easy for your first event.
Okay, thank you.
Especially for a free event, like just for a free event, you want as little friction as possible. You may want to, for the type of work you're doing, maybe you want to keep the release form in there. That's up to you.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So, and with that being the case, I'm going to modify your progress bar. It's actually currently disabled, so it shouldn't show. Let's see if that actually functions the way it should function. Yep, there we go. Good deal.
I don't want anyone to say like, I didn't get any private scholarships or I applied and,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
so I'm like,
100%. You're for what you're doing, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I've disabled the password step. Again, that just disable functionality right up at the top.
okay,
And the tech check step is disabled as well. The waiver step is enabled. So when a new attendee clicks on or logs in, what they'll wind up with is just that simple access. And you can, of course, email people just are you having everybody register through Marketplace?
yes.
Okay. So just remember that your Marketplace registration URL, and I say remember because this isn't displayed anywhere, is your event URL /registration. That's your registration URL.
Okay,
So scholarships-college-now.obv.io/registration is the actual URL you're going to want to use. I just dropped it in the chat for you.
okay,
And that will get you to the registration page. If you try and look at the registration page and you're logged in as an attendee, you won't see the registration page.
okay. I know I did a test with Muddy. He was trying to show me, because I've tried to be on these calls when it's at this time of day, and it looks so simple and easy. And then when I tried it myself, I'm like, I don't know, how the hell do you get into any of these little buttons? I didn't realize it was the little gear to the right. So
Yeah,
that was helpful.
Totally get it.
But I'm just really concerned, like the links and stuff. So once I get everything finished and I'll have everything done today, is there some way I can have someone look at it to make sure that it's functioning correctly?
Yeah, there is. Just reach out to the support team and have them take a peek.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. Ready for the next?
Yep.
All right. So Sally said, first off, she wanted to thank you, Blue. She just got started, went through all the workshop videos, and she's really grateful for that. But she has Keep Classic and has tags set up to pull in registrants who purchase through ThriveCart. I wanted to know what groups would be used for. I know I had more questions, but I didn't come prepared. So groups.
Sorry. So they're using Keep, Max Classic, and ThriveCart. Is that what you said?
Yep. And she wants to know what groups would be used for, because she has.
They won't. Generally speaking, if you're using Keep integration, groups aren't used. So think of groups as another way to say it is custom fields. And we call it groups primarily because it's a way to group your attendees, right?
So just use the tags that are coming in from Keep.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm noticing the tags are pulling in the tag ID numbers. So I just
tag ID numbers, correct?
Tag ID numbers. Yep. Sweet. Easy.
Yep. Yeah. And if you want to, so what where we do sometimes use groups is, let's say, as a hypothetical, you wanted to include the city and state of the attendee somewhere on the dashboard. So you could import, you could create a new group called city and then define the field for city 1 from Keep to be imported as the group. So now when a new attendee is created, they'll include a group called city with the value that is stored in their Keep contact record for each attendee.
Sweet. Yep. Cool.
All right. Heather had a question. Client wants to see 1, who showed up, 2, who clicked the replay videos on the dashboard, and 3, data on who logged in.
Don't we all? Okay, so what I'll simply say as a starting point is, don't we all? I kind of meant that. And statistics are not terribly visible inside of the front end UI. So you can tell who landed on the dashboard, right, at one point by taking a look at your attendees who have checked in. That's attendees who have checked in also equals they landed on the dashboard. Go
Can I
ahead,
ask
Heather.
a question about that? Yeah. So this particular client, everything is free and they're just going through tokens. So there's no check-in. There's no tech check.
There isn't, but there's check-in and there's tech check, so which are 2 slightly different things. So if I were to go to, give me 1 second, I'll show you an example. So if I were to go to the virtual event on virtual events, and I go to attendees,
Okay.
and I click on filtered, you'll notice that there is check-in status. And I can go check-in status as checked in or not checked in. But if I were to, right now, the tech check step is actually disabled. So if I were to enable the tech check step on that dashboard, and I go back into attendees and I go to filters, there's now a new, a new option, right? So tech check complete, tech check not complete, and then check-in status checked in, not checked in. So when an attendee lands on the dashboard, they get checked in, not in the same way that tech check works. We're using the same language, and I know that's confusing, or I understand how that could be confusing. But when somebody lands on the dashboard, they are identified as having checked into the event.
Okay. So, because this is the free event, there's been like 300 people, but we're trying to figure out who showed up. Right.
So who showed up are going to be the people who checked in, because they at least showed up on the dashboard. The other thing that you can do is layer number 1 is who showed up on the dashboard. That is, go to attendees, click on filters, check-in status, checked in, and that is going to display all of the people who landed on the dashboard. From there, if your client needs that, you go attendee tools export, and it will export the filtered list of attendees. Okay, so now you can give him that list and say, here you go, here are all the people who checked in. If I'm not mistaken, this also includes the date and time that they checked in the export. I'm not 1,000% on that. I feel like that's correct, but I'm just going from memory right now, and Obvio is not an insignificant application at this point. The other thing that you can do is go to Zoom areas, go to main stage, and click export attendees. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you another export of anybody who was in one of the rooms within the main stage. It's going to give you another piece of information that's going to be interesting to you, which is there is a column right at the end of that CSV file that is a time indicator. And that time indicator is essentially going to tell you how long each of those people spent in Zoom or in the main stage total. Okay, so it's the total amount of time that they spent inside of Zoom since the beginning of that event.
Okay, so this is a free event, and they're doing it almost every other week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 3 days. So let's say student A, if they come for the full 3 days, and they're there for, let's say, total of 5 of the 6 hours, it would say data. They're trying to figure out
Yeah, if they were there for 5 of the 6 hours, I believe it says 300 because it's listed in minutes.
Okay, and it gives a date at all, so we can go back to the last 3 events?
It's not dated. It's a total based on that area. So what if each week they're running this another time, like it's the same event,
Yep.
but it's different attendees, you're going to want to create a new area every week, because a new area will reset the statistics for that new area.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, they're in the middle of that today, so we're on day.
So maybe not today and probably not tomorrow. Wait till the end of the event.
So
Don't do it mid-event.
Okay, so I'll wait till the next one. The client texted
And
me
here, so
earlier.
here, this is an example of what it shows you on export. So duration, amount of time in Zoom, and then joins, the number of times they joined Zoom for that, right? So, Sabrina joined Zoom once for a total of 4 minutes, 39 seconds.
Oh, got it. And so this is the David 21 hours. Is that 21 hours, 38 minutes, I'm assuming?
Correct. Yeah. And David was in Zoom. He joined a total of 10 times over the course of the 3 days, for a total of 21 hours, 38 minutes, and 11 seconds.
So the next question my client just texted me, she said, are you able to get a report of who clicked on, we added this last week, we're changing it up and we're adding the replays in day 1, day 2. Who clicked on basically the video post? Is there any way?
Well, do they have to click on the video post, or is the video embedded on the post?
It's embedded as a blog post.
Yeah, so that there's not going to be any way to track that.
Okay.
Not easily, and likely not with whatever you're using to embed it.
That's fine. It's just Vimeo. Okay, so just to repeat, because they're going to keep doing these. So each one I can create a new main stage that resets kind of the clock. Does that reset the clock on the check?
It'll reset the attendee statistics.
Okay.
And if I were you, I would probably just create a main stage with the date in it, like the date range in the name, so that you kind of know. So if your client wants to go back to an event from 2 weeks ago,
yeah,
again, after you've done this, and they want to export the statistics, which one to export. So if it were me doing this, I would create an area with like April 1-3, 2023, as part of the name of the main stage.
Okay, and last question. Thank you for that's perfect. I'm going to do that. I'll do that on the next round when we're done tomorrow. Going back to filters, checked in. And is there any way to export this data? I have 300
attendee tools and click export.
Got it. And it'll have, oh, there it is. Okay. All right. That's what I need. That's awesome.
Yep. Welcome. And any export that you do is almost pretty much any export that you do from anywhere is going to include first name, last name, email, their login URL, their a link to their waiver if you have the waiver turned on, what time they completed tech check, and then also what time they checked in at. In most cases, if you have tech check turned on, time completed tech check and checked in at are almost always going to be the same, but sometimes not. Then it'll include their tags. Then it'll include their groups if you happen to have any, so city, state, anything like that. And then these two fields, duration and joins, those two columns are unique to the export functionality at the area and room level in Zoom areas.
Is there any, that was really good. Is there any other data points that I don't know about, that I don't know how to ask for? Because they're just always asking for data because they're doing paid ads pre-event.
Not really, but if it were me and they're doing paid ads, they probably have a Facebook pixel. You probably want to put that onto the dashboard.
They have it on. We have it on the funnel. Where's that?
Yep. So on in the editor, if you go to design and then right at the bottom scripts and click add, you can add the script right there. So you like if you could use a Google Tag Manager script, or you could use specifically a Facebook pixel if you wanted to, whatever works for them. Depending on how advanced they are, they're probably using GTM.
Right.
So you would just call it like Google Tag Manager script, and then you'd paste the script in here, and you can either add it to all pages or you can be specific. But that'll help them do some retargeting, right? So once somebody lands on the dashboard, they should be able to, based on using a Facebook pixel or Google pixel, they should be able to retarget their attendees who have not yet shown up using the Facebook pixel.
That's going to be great. I'll tell their team. They have a whole data team on that. So I will.
Yep.
That's perfect. Thanks.
And they should also be able to kind of do the opposite, right? And once an offer is made, they should be able to, provide customized ads to people who did show up on the dashboard, right?
Oh,
so not only can you create ads for people to actually show up who haven't shown up yet, but then on the back end, you can customize your messaging for people who have shown up.
That's a good point. And I'm just going to go ahead and ask the question, because they do drop an offer on the end of day 2. Is there a way to do data on who clicked it?
Yeah. So what you need to do is, what are they using for their CRM?
They're using Go High Level.
Okay. So for now, you would probably need to create a Zap based on a button click. So you're going to want to connect Zapier to the event. And then once you connect Zapier to the event, and under services, it shows as linked, then on the button of the dashboard, when you click on it, where I see Infusionsoft tag right here, you're going to see something that says Zapier, and then you're going to type something in that is like button clicked, right? Or something like that. And then you're going to go to Zapier, and you're going to create a Zap using the Obvio integration. So create a Zap, and you're going to start with Obvio as the latest. And then you're going to choose attendee tagged.
Tag.
And you're going to select which event, right? So I don't have one, but whatever. And then it's going to ask you for what the tag is called, and it's whatever text you put into the this area right here under Zapier tag.
Love it. Yeah. We had to do that for obviously the Obvio token.
Right. So then once you do that, you can then take, what that'll do is that'll fire over the user's first name, last name, and email address at the time of click. And you can then fill that either in Go High Level, right? You could apply a tag in Go High Level that the attendee has clicked on a button, or you can add it to like a Google Sheet or something like that.
Okay, I know exactly what to do. I didn't even know. I've seen that section. I'm looking at it, but I didn't make the connection that we can zap it. So that's awesome.
And I don't know if you were on, but you'll be happy probably sometime within the next month or so. We should have our Go High Level integration done. So we're working on that right now.
Oh my gosh, I'm very happy. Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It does make life a little easier. You're welcome.
It does make life easier. We had something break the other day, and it was a nightmare with Zapier and Obvio. So it was it's just tech, right? It just like unhooked and no one knew, and there was all kinds of drama. So that would be great. But thank you.
Cool.
All right. So our next question is from the third Heather on this call. We are being taken over by Heathers today. But can the dashboard support users that are not English as their first language? I have a participant that only communicates in Spanish.
Ask that question one more time.
Can the dashboard support users that are not English as their first language? I have a participant that only communicates in Spanish.
Okay, so I think what you're asking, the way I'm hearing that question, you're not, this isn't a question like what Frank asked earlier, where he was asking if the whole dashboard can be in French. What you're asking is, can I have an English dashboard and then there's a translation functionality to switch to a different language? So the answer to that question, Heather, is yes, but the slightly harder answer to that question is it's a little complicated. And that's because the translation functionality built into Obvio is a little clunky. It works great from an attendee's perspective, but from a user perspective, it would be lovely if it was a little better than it is. So I'm just going to show it to you at a really, really high level, so that you can, see how it works. What you're going to do is under features, and here's the other thing, Heather, if this is for one participant, I don't know that I would do this, to be frank, right? Like if I had one participant, actually, let me just address this from that perspective as a starting point. If I had one participant who emailed me, let's just say hypothetically somebody from Spain named Aurelian, right? And Aurelian was like, I speak Spanish. Can you please make the dashboard in Spanish? And unfortunately, he's the only person who has registered for TVE from Spain, which is awesome. I love you, Aurelian. That's awesome, right? He's the only person who registered for TVE from Spain. And I have 1,000 people who registered and one person who's Spanish. In all honesty, I'm probably not going to do a full translation on the dashboard in order for Aurelian to be able to read the dashboard in Spanish. What I would do is recommend that Aurelian use Google Chrome and use the built-in translation functionality in Google Chrome to translate all the text on the dashboard to his native language, which is Spanish. So that's just thing number one.
Or French.
Or French, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Or whatever language, truthfully, right? Because that works. It's baked into Chrome, and it I mean, it's not great, but it works. So that's just a starting point if it was only one. But if I had maybe half my audience was Spanish and half my audience was English, first off, I probably would speak Spanish. So that's awesome, but I don't. So what you do though is under features, there's a function called translations. And first off, you have to enable it. That's number one. And once you do, it starts with a single language, which is English. And you're going to need to add a new language. So I'm going to click add. And I would, we almost always there's a reason for it. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to go through this whole thing. But bottom line is you can do it. And what I'm going to ask, Heather, actually, I think they posted it in the chat already. Thank you. That's awesome. On that video on YouTube, I went through the entire functionality of how translations work. But you literally have to go through and you have to bring all of your data into translations, both English and Spanish, and you have to change everything on the dashboard for it to work. Now, it works really, really well, but it is cumbersome to use. We have on our roadmap, and it's not an insignificant thing to do, but we have on our roadmap a feature to upgrade this, and I'm hoping it gets done by the end of this year. But I will be honest with you and say that it's a relatively low priority because what we have works, and the number of people who actually use Obvio for multiple languages simultaneously is pretty low. Right. And we probably use it more than anybody else because like almost all of the Tony Robbins events are multi-language. And it's a pain in the butt. So when we do change it, we're probably going to be changing it more for us than for anybody else. So for now, it's a low priority item, but it's there and it does work. It won't do the translation for you, incidentally. You do have to provide the translated text for each language, which incidentally for me, I'd just go to Google Translate and use that, which incidentally is pretty much the same as the user using Chrome to translate automatically.
Well, and I've started using ChatGPT for that because it's contextual. And so that is quite helpful because it's actually, yeah, it's taking in context, not just which Google Translate does as well, but I don't know, it seems to do it better and justifies me using ChatGPT because it's just fun. But I do
Best
love,
page to translate DeepL.
I love Muddy's comment. It just spun your whole thing into the positive. I mean, if you love merge codes, then you are gonna love the translate feature. It just works amazingly well.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Okay, so whoever just acknowledged DeepL, this is awesome. I can now actually talk to my friends who speak Spanish. So thank you. DeepL's awesome.
All right. Heather, thank you for posting that video. Allowed me to not go through all that again. Appreciate it.
I was just getting my popcorn and I was like, how is Blue going to do a quick overview of translation?
Yeah. Nope, not going to happen.
So Eduardo, he's super new to using Obvio. And I gave him a link to the videos earlier, but I think I'll post it again just so everyone sees this. But he's just curious as to the training for total newbies would go starting from 0.
Yep.
And would you still recommend that 8 onboarding workshop video series?
Yeah, the onboarding workshop video series, Eduardo, it's a deep dive, right? So it's 16 hours, which is a lot. But it's me teaching it, and I'm kind of long-winded, so I apologize. But it really does go through every single thing step by step by step by step. The other thing that I want to say to you, because I saw your comment earlier about being humbled by how much other people knew. And I think it's important just to remember for you and everybody else on this call, there have been some pretty advanced level questions on this particular call so far. And that's not the norm. Okay. Usually we get questions that are all over the place, some that are nice and beginner, which I love to answer because they're easier, some that are a little bit more intermediate, and some that are more advanced. So just because you hear us asking some or answering some complicated questions doesn't mean that we're not happy to answer any questions you have. Okay. So as you're going through that, please don't worry about asking questions. And it's really rare that I will actually, in an answer, refer you to a video. The problem with Heather's translation functionality question is it's just such a crappy user experience, and it just takes time to build out a translation system. That one really is worth it just to watch that than have me do it over again. So yeah, Heather just dropped the Searchy link again to the hub, and just start with the first video, and then watch the next one and then the next one. You know, and I would say to you that the first 3 or 4 are probably, they're all good, right? I mean, you just go deeper and deeper and deeper. I think we did one video that was very much on gamification. Like we spent almost 2 hours on really good, diving deep on how the gamification system works. So if you do get through all 8 calls from the onboarding session, you'll find that you probably know more about Obvio than I do.
All right. And then we have a question from Sally. I have an open Zoom room that my clients can access 24/7. Am I able to have a Zoom room through Obvio for that? One that they can access to when myself or team are not in the Zoom?
No.
Easy.
Yeah, that really
I'll
wasn't
keep my
even a
Zoom
question.
account for that. I'll keep my private Zoom account for that.
Yeah. The Zoom meetings, they really are tied to Obvio. And the one, there's a couple of things in there, but the most important one really is that the ability to have participants join before the host is turned off on all Obvio meetings. And that's really the other stuff we could get around through the Obvio interface. That one we can't. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's pretty much, that's also why I say, Sally, for you and for everybody else, Zoom is included for your events, right? If you need Zoom for things outside of your events, you should probably still carry a Zoom account. We have one. I have one in, we have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Zoom licenses inside of Obvio. And for Sage, I still have my own Zoom license. So.
Hey, Blue.
Yep.
Sally, this is for you. So here's how you can do that is you can create a button on your dashboard that goes to your Zoom meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you take
Oh, that's a
link,
good idea, because then I can just kick them out of the dashboard, because that was the thing. As I lose clients, I want them, because they still have access to the link, but hopefully they won't realize it's the link. Yeah, sweet. Thank you, Muddy. That's awesome.
All right. So Heather had a question. I have a budget of $400 to $500, looking for a new webcam to upgrade my look. Do you have any suggestions?
Me, Heather. There's 3 Heathers.
What are you using right now?
Logitech 1080p. It's good. It's great. I just, I'm expanding. Thought maybe I'd ask the tech that question.
So I don't know that you're going to get much better in that price range on the webcam front, to be frank.
Where do I need to get to? Like 700-800?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll probably get you much closer.
Okay.
But I'm using it right now. I do like the Insta360 link that Muddy just posted in the chat. I like it a lot, actually. I have it turned off, but one of the things that I like about it is it has tracking built in. So it's got a little head on it, right? That is kind of like a gimbal head. And it has built into it the ability to track. And it can also not just track left to right, but it can also zoom in and out. So actually what Muddy's playing with right now is you can kind of see how it's following him a little bit. And it's not perfect, but it does a really good job. I have it set up right now as a secondary camera at my desk when my primary camera is in a bag ready to be.
This one looks like it's 300, so that's in the price range.
Yep. Yeah, but from a quality perspective, right? Like the quality of your camera is actually pretty good. The quality of my camera is not much better than yours. Okay. So the thing that I would just be, if I was you, if you're still planning on just sitting where you are and you're not planning on doing a whole bunch of moving, I would save what I would do is I would save, put the $400 aside, wait till you get another $400 and then go to like a Sony A series with a lens. That's the direction that I would go rather than spending $400 on the, or $300 on the Insta360.
Okay. So I'm going towards the Sony A6100.
Yeah. A6100, the A6400, the A6600. Yeah. Eduardo likes the Sony, EZV10. I feel like there's an extra letter in there, but anyway, and that's kind of like a little bit more entry level, like it's one layer down. And I don't remember if that's the one that has the camera built in or not, but Sony makes one of those entry level cameras that is around $700 that has a built-in lens that's nice. Then they have one step up from that has a modified, like a switchable lens. I think it's the Sony EV1, and then there's the Sony EV10 or something like that. And I think it's the one that has the built-in lens, the 10 that has a switchable lens.
Well, this one here is saying Sony Alpha A6100 mirrorless camera, 16 to 50 mm zoom lens.
Yep.
Okay, that's 8. Okay, that's 900. So
yeah, and I would probably not get, if you can buy it without the lens, I would buy it without the lens, and then I would buy a different. For me, if I was you, I would be buying the Sigma 16 mil fixed focal length. The one, what was it, 1.4, something like that.
Type that in, buddy.
1.6.
Or money, can you type that in?
Yeah, that Sigma lens I think is $400, but you'll save $100 on a body without the lens. And then that Sigma lens is really magical.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But Money, can you type that to me? So because I feel like that was Spanish. There you go. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's what I needed.
The ZV one is nice. So it's a good like foray into an actual camera. But it doesn't have interchangeable lenses, so it doesn't allow for like an upgrade path. The nice thing about the cameras that have an interchangeable lens, even if you buy the one that has the kit lens, which is what you were talking about, that 28 to 55 or whatever the numbers you said were, that kit lens is going to be a great starting point. And then, you know, if you want to just start with that, and then at some point purchase or save up for the Sigma 16 mil 1.4 lens, and and that'll upgrade that. The lens will actually upgrade the camera, right? So that's the fun stuff that winds up happening.
All right. Sally wants to know, can I have a partner referral link? And if it's available, what is the affiliate commission?
Yeah. So Sally, the short answer is yes. If you email us and say, hey, just email us at help@obv.io, and we can turn on the affiliate system for you. The thing to know, the reason it's not turned on for everybody is we do not have a sales page, right? And we still don't. So we have an order form that tells you a tiny, tiny, tiny amount, but not a whole lot. So we really haven't done a good job of that just yet. I've been saying for quite some time, and it happens to still be true, that we're feature focused, right? We're trying to get the platform to where we feel really, really comfortable, having a lot of people use it and being able to support it. And we feel like we're still we're 90% of the way there. There's a couple of things that we're waiting on before we really turn this, put a focus onto marketing. One is an upgrade to Marketplace that the team is working on. And another is adding SMS functionality. And then the last is adding statistics. And once we do those, sorry, I'm literally watching my dog look at the shelving unit in my office, because the shelving unit in my office is where dog toys go to die. Because once she starts, to the point where she has chewed it up and now she's starting to eat the insides of a dog toy, which isn't good for anybody, but especially not for dogs, they go on like the top shelf. Every once in a while, she remembers that they're up there and she complains about it. Anyway, that's what's going on right now. Sorry, I'm distracted by my dog. No, don't give her that.
Hey, they're
It's up there
four-legged
for a reason.
babies. It's totally fine. We have them too. They sleep on the bed and under the covers,
Right? I mean, they just take over your life.
Totally fine. They were our babies before babies, and they're still our babies after
Right.
babies are no longer babies.
Exactly. So
Love it.
once we get those three things up and running, then you'll probably start to see us put a little bit more of a focus onto a solid sales page, and also a good webinar to actually sell the platform. And then we'll also turn the affiliate system on. And to answer the other question, which I think I did not answer yet, it's 30% lifetime, and it's 30% lifetime on the subscription, not on any add-ons that are purchased. So if a user does an upgrade to purchase additional capacity for a live event, as an example, that's not commissionable. Once the SMS functionality gets released, it's going to be pay per use. That's not commissionable. It's just their monthly subscription, but it is lifetime of the customer.
Awesome. Thanks. I'll send that email today. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, so we have a question from Muddy. It's a Zapier question. I'd like to create a Google Sheet with attendee data as well as a response data. I want name, email, login URL from the attendee data. I also want to collect phone number via a form on the waiver step. I want to update the spreadsheet.
I could probably ask it easier than what I typed there. Essentially, I want to show both data that's in the core Obvio data, like name, email, and magic link, along with data from a form submission through a webhook, which is where I'm collecting the phone number on a form. So I essentially create an attendee through Zapier, and then I want to update that attendee. But I ultimately want a spreadsheet that has both their phone number and magic link. So what I've started to do, the trigger could be when an attendee is created to add a row to a spreadsheet. So as soon as the attendee is created, it creates a spreadsheet row. And then when a webhook is received, it would update that row to add the cell phone number. The problem is the webhook trigger is instant, and the create attendee is not instant. So it's oftentimes that the webhook comes in sooner than the created attendee.
So put a delay timer in it.
Ooh, good idea. Okay, so then the root question is, how do I create a Zap where I search for a row and then return it in the next? And we're at 7 o'clock, and this is not a simple question. So why don't I take this one back to the
No, it's not that hard. So the thing that is going to be hard. So you have to have your trigger, which is your webhook, right? But then the first thing you're going to have, the first action that you're likely to have is a Google Sheets. And it's going to be search, and it's going to be look up spreadsheet row all the way down at the bottom. And then what you're going to do is you're going to choose an account. Okay. This is the part.
You want me to share a screen? I have it queued up.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because you probably have something that's already kind of working.
Yeah, and I figured we would, just like you are showing, you're going to have to dig into it. So let me share screen here. Okay, Zap, share screen, that screen. Okay, so I created, here's a Zap where I created, once I got the webhook, I created the spreadsheet row. So
that's
now,
your create attendee, right?
Create attendee, yep.
Okay, yep.
So now I want to create a new Zap whereby this is the same webhook. Okay, I guess I do need to put this into demonstrate.
No, you do it as part. Wait, no, something's not right. You want your create attendee needs to come first. So that's not the one. Go back to the other one that you're working with. So this in theory is second, right? So the catch webhook, that's the form on step 2.
That's right. That should be this should actually be the update one and the search.
Yeah, exactly. So stay here. So click on create, click on that, modify this. And what you need to do is just, let's edit this app.
Oh yeah, here we go.
And then change the app and event from create to search, or look up spreadsheet row. And then select the sheet or the drive, and then select the sheet.
Come on.
and then select the worksheet, and then select the column
Lookup column is going to be the
email.
email address.
Yep. And then don't worry about supporting column. Don't worry about supporting value. Oh, up at the top, lookup value. Lookup value is going to be, click there and catch row. And it's going to be the, yep, our catch raw, and it's going to be the email address.
Got it.
And then that's it. And then, I mean, you can create a row if the spreadsheet doesn't exist, but that's going to be,
Yeah, I'll leave that off for a minute.
yeah, okay. So then click continue. And test action, fine, yep. And now click plus. So now you need a new, your next thing.
Right.
And now it's back to Google Sheets. And now it is update, not create a row, it's update spreadsheet row.
Okay, I got this far. And then I wasn't sure how to, let me pull in the.
Yeah, so now you go back to the exact same sheet that you searched in.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then row is the value from the previous result. So click on row and
this is not what I was expecting to see here. When I went back,
go to custom and click on lookup spreadsheet row.
There it
and
is.
then ID 2 or row 2 right down at the bottom is probably the one you're actually looking for, is that one.
Yeah, okay.
And now you should be able to then put
That's right. Now I can add the phone number.
the phone number from the catch.
Yep. Yep. Got it. Where'd it go? Here it is. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And then click continue and test it, and it should work. So now if you were to if you open up a new tab, or actually just go to the tab to the right, which is probably the right thing. And there you go.
Yep. Perfect. Perfect. So that was the trick was that I couldn't find the action.
It's under custom.
And when I added that step, it added this third option here, which wasn't here previously. So,
correct. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. No worries.
Muddy, did you want to ask your other question that you posted about the active versus not active?
Yeah, sure. So I was sharing some of the advanced filter options with Elite member today, and I noticed you showed today the filters between checked in and not checked in. I also noticed one of the default filters at that step is active or not active. And I don't think I've seen that before. I'm curious, what does that mean?
So if you open up an attendee right at the top, there's a toggle to enable or disable them. And if you disable that, that's what that is. So if you have disabled attendees, you can filter by disabled attendees just to see if you have any disabled attendees.
Not whether they're in the platform or in Zoom right now.
No, it's just enabled, disabled is based on their the attendee's status in the attendee
active
page.
And inactive means enabled or disabled.
Yeah, that's not very bright, but yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Hey, James, that may be a simple. Can we get that? Thank you.
And then Blue, I know Robbie's not on this call, but he asked through chat while we were on here. He's doing an event and he's trying to duplicate an email broadcast and getting a channel.body error. And he's also wondering if there's now a 255 character limit.
No. But the way he's saying that makes me think that there is. So given that he's not on here, that's probably not something that we can troubleshoot. But there isn't a 255 character limit on emails. I believe there is one on text messaging, So maybe something has happened to cross over there. We should probably take a look at that. But there should not be a limit like that there. No.
Okay. And then we have one last question from Eduardo. He's not sure about the different pieces, keep, ClickFunnels, go high level. He's trying to figure out what to get for what.
Sure. So that's a deep question, Eduardo, for 7:10 p.m. But here's what I'll tell you. What we're really talking about are what are the tools that you need to run your online business, right? And generally speaking, I personally am a fan of specialized tools for specialized actions. Okay. I generally speaking, this is a real general statement because this is not true all the time, but in most cases, I find that platforms that try to do all things don't do any of them well. But platforms that try and focus on a specific task, generally speaking, do that task really well. A good example of that is probably ClickFunnels, right? ClickFunnels, at least 1.0, what they do really, really well is build landing pages that lead to an upsell sales process. What ClickFunnels 1.0 doesn't do really well is automation and communication with those people who sign up. Right. So a lot of people who use ClickFunnels, at least version 1.0, also have another service that is their CRM, the thing that allows them to actually interact with their attendees or their customers, not just their attendees. In our case, we use Keep. A lot of our clients also use ActiveCampaign. A lot of our clients also use HubSpot. We have clients who also use Entreport. Those 4 services, and there are more of them out there, but those 4 services, generally speaking, tend to focus on automation and communication with their customers. Each of those services also have the ability to build landing pages. But again, my experience is their landing pages tend to suck. So, again, the services that try to do all things don't do any of them well. And I'm sure Obvio on some level is no exception to that. Right. There are platforms out there that allow you to build out really complicated email communication infrastructures, right? Or processes or sequences. And we do have some sequencing inside of Obvio, but it's pretty basic. Right. And it's because that's not our entire focus. You have the ability to do that thing here, but we know that people who really want to get complicated are going to go use Keep or HubSpot or ActiveCampaign or whatever, right? Something else. And the same thing is true, generally speaking, of a lot of those other things. So, for online businesses, sometimes we wind up having a toolkit of like 7 different things. And you have this one thing that you use for text messaging. And people say, sure, but those 2 other things that you have also do text messaging. I'm like, yeah, but this one does it exactly how I want my text messages sent. That's why I also have that. And then I use this thing over here for my email communication. Then I use this thing over here for my shopping cart and for my funnels, right? Then I use this thing over here to run my events, Obvio. And then I also have Zapier because sometimes I have 2 things that don't really talk to each other all that well, and I need to be able to get them to talk to each other. So Zapier is the glue that binds them all together, sometimes well, sometimes poorly. So, I've heard a lot of people recently talk about Go High Level. We've not spent a lot of time in it, but I've heard good things. And it is one of those platforms that is trying to be all things to all people. But with that being said, I've heard good things. I've also heard good things about ClickFunnels 2.0, right? So the new version of ClickFunnels is a lot more all-encompassing. And again, similar to Go High Level, they're trying to do all things for all people. And whether or not they do that well is yet to be seen. Kajabi is another one of those platforms that is, they started off as content delivery, right? Sell a product, deliver that product, and they've grown, and they still do that very, very well, but they've grown to be a little bit more all-encompassing, right? So you can do email communication through Kajabi now, and a bunch of other stuff. But those things it does okay. It doesn't do them great. So I would say to you, Eduardo, that the longer you are in the online space, the more little services that you pick up, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's exactly how I want, my shopping cart page to look. For the longest time, we were using Infusionsoft to build our shopping carts. Even though we also have ClickFunnels, but I wasn't using ClickFunnels for funnels. I was using them for a very specific task that we had. And I just never got into ClickFunnels for shopping carts, but I didn't like the way that our shopping cart pages looked from Infusionsoft. So we used a service called Go Spiffy that basically allows you to modify how Infusionsoft shopping carts look very easily. So even in that instance, we had two different pieces of software to accomplish one thing. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes, it really is. And there's no easy answer to this. Like, I wish I could say to you, Eduardo, this is what you should do. This is the one piece of software that you need right now, today, to be able to run your online business. And personally, I have not found the one just yet.
Fair enough, Lou. I appreciate it. Would you say that, for example, Obvio, Keep, maybe Stripe, would be more or less, I'll go ClickFunnels or go high level, would be kind of the basic kit, generally speaking?
If I was starting out, I still like Infusionsoft. I really like Infusionsoft's automation sequencing and communication platform. I really do like it a lot. But part of that is comfort. My Infusionsoft account was built in 2009, so I've been using it for 15 years, right? So take that for what it's worth, because I've been using it for 15 years. Some people get into Infusionsoft and they're like, how do you use this? This is garbage. I've been using it for 15 years. So, but yeah, I think if you had Infusionsoft, Obvio for live events, the nice thing about Stripe is you only pay for what's used, but Infusionsoft needs a payment processor. You can use Infusionsoft payments, as a payment processor. I personally prefer Stripe, and it doesn't cost you anything Stripe is not more expensive or less expensive than Infusionsoft payments. It's pretty much the same price. So I happen to like that. And Infusionsoft works with Stripe, which is nice. So I think that's a good starting point. And I think most of us should probably have a page builder of some sort that's outside of Infusionsoft. And that's where I think ClickFunnels comes in. And I would take a hard look at ClickFunnels 2.0. I have not. But I know Muddy has played around with it quite a bit, and I know quite a few other people who have. And I've seen the demos, and I know what they're trying to accomplish. Right. And I think that it's a promising platform that's just getting started.
Super helpful. Thank you.
You bet. Are we done? Is there more?
Yeah. So Muddy definitely stuck in a question, and so did Tony.
Those buggers.
All right. So Muddy wants to know, what's the correct merge code for the first name? Is it with or without the underscore, or do both work?
I believe both work. Test it. There is something funky where I'm pretty sure that the marketplace pages,
Broadcast shows the underscore.
Yeah, there is something where there is one area, there's one area of Obvio that only accepts the underscore. And I don't remember what that is right now. I think it may be the email broadcaster, to be honest with you. I think it's the email.
I was just about to say broadcasts.
Yeah. But I think everywhere accepts the underscore. So I would be tempted to just use the underscore everywhere so you don't forget. We actually have talked about disabling the space version of it, but the space version of that has been available for so long that if we disable it, then all of a sudden a bunch of dashboards will start saying first name as opposed to the actual first name. So there you go.
All right. And then Tony's question is, if you upload 600 attendees, but have them all filtered as inactive or disabled, then have only the ones using tech check login to make them active, about a total of 350. Do I still pay for 600, or my 350 attendees meet the requirement of no additional charges?
Okay, first off, don't deactivate 600 attendees. That's number one. Number two, about a month and a half ago, we changed how we count yet again. But this is in your favor.
We now times it by 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, specifically for you, Tony. Everybody else, we don't do that for. But if you import 600 attendees and only 350 of them show up at some point during the event, you'll only be charged for 350, even though you imported 600. So now I'm gonna give you a small caveat on that. The language that we are using to define that new counting mechanism is we are counting active participants. And an active participant counts anybody who has landed on the dashboard, checked in, signed the waiver, or created their password. If they have done one of those 4 things, we count them as an active participant because they have engaged with the platform. So it is not to say that you have to have 350 people in Zoom. It is if you had 350 people interact with the platform. Even if you can import 1 million people, if only 350 of them engage, well, you'll only be charged for 350. So, and that's new,
which is
within the last 6 weeks.
Which is another reason to change our terminology to enabled and disabled, because we're also using active.
I was just starting to type that. So
yeah, in another sense. So good call, Muddy.
Thank you. It was just because Muddy brought that up about inactive and disabled, so I said, "Oh, ching."
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. That is yes.
All right,
Sometimes
my work here is done.
Yeah. But yeah, on the upside, and like I said, that's new. Actually, since Obvio's inception, we've always counted, even when we were using the credit system, we've always counted imported attendees, right? We've now switched to only counting active participants who have engaged with the platform. So, which is a huge win, Tony, especially for people like you who are doing free events, right? It's a massive, massive win, because what we're finding more and more is less and less people are showing up to free events. So you could wind up with an event that is 3,500 people who have signed up, but only 300 people who show up, right? Like we're seeing things like 10, 15% participation for free events. And a lot of that, there's a lot that depends, like that hinges on, right? That's not true of all cases, but especially for people who are seeing that same thing. And so those are the same numbers that we see for webinar as well, right? If you have somebody sign up for a free webinar, generally speaking, 20%, maybe 15% of them will actually show up live. So all of these things, these new ways of counting, if you will, are designed for you guys to use the platform more, right? Because you get 500, you can have as many events for up to 500 people as you can have, right? And that's up to 500 active participants now. It's not registered attendees. So you count. New way to count. One day we'll find another way to count for you, and we'll just continue to make it more and more complicated. But usually in your favor. It's really rare that we do something in the opposite direction. I'm sure it's happened. I just can't think of it in this moment. All right. Anything else, Heather? Are we? Ah, awesome.
He's like, please, please,
Please
please,
make
is
it
there
stop.
nothing else?
Make it stop. Make it stop.
Great work.
So listen, see, there's a couple of you left. So now that there's just a couple of you left, I figured I would take this opportunity to show you one thing that got added to Obvio recently that I'm super excited about. This is really, really, really cool. So hold on one second. So up until now, if you go into a button as an example and you start making changes, right? So if you change the font size, the moment you would click out, the panel would go away and you'd lose your changes. So all of the we had started to do this a while ago on some of the supplementary pages, right? On login, on speakers, on sponsors, on FAQs, stuff like that. It has now made its way pretty much almost everywhere on the editor now. If you make a change to the config panel and you click out accidentally, if you have a touchpad or touch bar, a touch mouse or something along those lines, and you do that accidentally, you won't save your changes automatically. You get this little update now that asks you if you want to save your changes or not. And you can click save your changes, which will actually make the changes, or you can click discard, which, maybe you clicked out on purpose, so you can discard your changes. So that's a new addition. And where that really is nice, and this bit me in the butt a few times, is if you happen to be writing a long blog post, right? And you're using the blog post editor and you get all the way down and your mouse happens to be over here, and then you click out and all of a sudden it's gone, right? And you just wrote 3 pages of a blog post and you're like, oh my God, I just lost everything. So that's no longer the case. The system will now ask you, it will now capture, hey, you sure you want to do that? So we're kind of excited about that. And it does make it a little bit safer as you're making changes on the dashboard. So super, super, super happy about.
I wanted that to have the title, "Hey dumbass, are you really sure you didn't hit save?" But it seemed a little offensive.
Yeah,
and it was mostly aimed.
Sometimes
It was
Grant
aimed at
has
me.
good ideas, and I like how he likes to hang his hat every once in a while on the fact that now on the attendee page, if you look up an attendee, there's a single link that you can click to log in as that attendee, just so everybody
Greatest
knows
achievement.
that one's Grant. That one's Grant. All Grant. Yeah.
Wait, what? Not copy and paste? You can actually just click a button and log in.
Yeah. That's it's.
Amazing,
I mean,
isn't it?
you save at least 2 clicks now. It's and a keyboard shortcut.
Grant, nice one.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, Grant is. I'm glad to have you here, buddy. It's awesome. Killer. All right. Well, with that being said, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday, 8 a.m. Sorry to say, 8 a.m. Eastern time next Wednesday. It's a morning call, and maybe we can go for 3 hours next week. We'll talk to y'all later. Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Good luck, Robin.